Welcome to a deep dive into personal branding and career reinvention. We're going to be looking at a bunch of articles from the spring 2025 issue of Harvard Business Review.
And they all seem to be grappling with this idea of how to stand out and how to succeed.
Yeah, in today's crazy work world, right?
It's not just about climbing the ladder anymore.
Exactly.
It's about finding that unique value that you bring to the table and then
Making sure people see it.
absolutely.
Whether you want, the corner office or start your own thing or just
Yeah.
survive in your current job.
even navigate your current workplace better.
Right. Yeah. And they have some really interesting questions too. What does executive presence even mean in 2025?
Oh, that's a good one.
Is there a right way to brag about yourself?
Mhm.
Can you fix it when people's perceptions of you are stuck in the past?
Well, that's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
How do you become that go-to expert without having to wait decades?
Yeah, I feel like we're all supposed to be these walking, talking brands now, right?
Right.
But these articles are really refreshing because they offer a way to think about it strategically and authentically.
Not just
Yeah.
empty self-promotion.
Exactly.
So you spent years helping people navigate all this stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think is the most valuable takeaway from all of these articles?
The foundation, I think, really is the article, A New Approach to Building Your Personal Brand. It's by Avery and Greenwald. And they have this 7-step process, which I think is something that everybody should think about.
Okay.
And it starts with this really powerful question, what's your purpose?
Oh, wow.
Why are you doing what you're doing?
Okay.
Who are you hoping to impact?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of like that Simon Sinek, start with why,
Yeah, exactly.
but for your whole career.
Exactly.
But I like that they have some practical tools in there too.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that personal value proposition template.
That's a good one.
It forces you to figure out who your audience is, what you're offering, and
Are different.
yeah, how are you different? So think about that, listener.
Yeah.
Who needs what you have and how are you different?
Exactly.
That's so important.
They also talk about auditing your brand equity,
Okay.
which goes beyond just your skills and achievements.
Okay.
It's more about how others perceive you,
Oh, interesting.
both online and offline.
Because some of the other articles talk about what happens if those perceptions are kind of stuck in the past.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You've moved on, but your colleagues still see you as the you from
5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah, because of one old project.
Yeah, based on an old reputation, that could be
Yeah.
tough.
That's got to be so frustrating.
It could be really frustrating.
Yeah.
And that's where, crafting your narrative and then strategically sharing your brand becomes so important.
Okay.
You need to tell the story of who you are now.
Okay.
Right.
So it's almost like an ongoing thing. Yeah.
And then make sure that story gets to the right ears.
Exactly.
Through networking or speaking or just
Or just how you show up every day.
how you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In meetings and stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of
Yeah.
presence,
Yeah.
one article is all about executive presence,
Oh, yeah.
which, used to seem like such a superficial
Yeah.
time term, but
But it is interesting, right? It's
Yes.
fascinating how the definition of executive presence has actually shifted,
yeah.
especially given all of the changes that have happened in the world lately.
Yeah.
Sylvia Ann Hewlett's article, The New Rules of Executive Presence, is a good one.
Yeah, it's not just about commanding a room
No.
or power dressing
It's more about how you treat people
it's about authenticity and inclusiveness and
and empathy.
empathy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like being a good human is now
Yeah.
a prerequisite for leadership, which, frankly, is how it always should have been.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the article has some concrete examples of how companies are actually putting these principles into action.
Okay, like what?
For example, Merrill Lynch's LGBTQ plus financial services team actually sought out a leader who was known for prioritizing inclusivity and relationship building.
Okay,
And it actually yielded some amazing results.
that's great.
Think about it, listener. The leaders that you admire,
Yeah.
do they embody these new qualities?
Yeah.
And how can you cultivate those same traits,
Yeah.
even if you're not in a leadership position yet?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
And then there's Unilever. They have this program called Get Inside the Skin.
Get inside the skin.
Yeah. So they send their leaders to volunteer in all sorts of unusual places.
What, like?
Homeless shelters, rural hospitals, even prisons.
Whoa.
All to help them really connect with and understand
It's interesting.
the diverse customers.
So even if you're not gunning for the C-suite,
Yeah.
grasping these kind of evolving
Yeah.
rules of executive presence. Yeah, it can really help you.
It can really help.
Like how you're perceived at work, right?
Yeah.
Because people are increasingly looking for leaders who listen, who respect others,
And
and
make people feel safe.
exactly, right. So it's less about projecting, like,
This like artificial image.
yeah, this kind of contrived image, and
Yeah.
more about cultivating these genuine qualities
Yeah.
that make people feel seen and heard.
And that connects so well with the article, Step into the Spotlight.
Oh, that's a good one, too.
Which is all about how a lot of people, especially women, feel kind of uncomfortable
Yeah, totally.
with like self-promotion. It
Yeah.
feels like icky or like you're breaking some rule,
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do it.
And it makes sense, right? Like, there's been so much research about how
Yeah.
women often kind of avoid that visibility, right? For fear of backlash.
Yeah.
Because they worry about appearing too aggressive, or
Which is so unfair.
it is unfair, yeah.
Yeah.
But as Muriel Magan-Wilkins points out in her interview, visibility is actually crucial for career advancement.
Yeah.
So you have to get comfortable advocating for yourself and sharing your accomplishments.
You kind of have to.
And thankfully, she gives some great advice on how to do that in a way that feels genuine.
Okay, good.
So she really emphasizes focusing on one-on-one conversations
Oh, yeah.
instead of those big, scary,
Yeah, overwhelming networking events.
like, it's like,
Yeah.
find the way that works for you.
It's about finding the ways to build visibility that really align with your personality.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and she even suggests like preparing talking points in advance so that,
Oh, smart.
yeah, so you're ready to contribute meaningfully in meetings.
So you're not just, like,
Yeah.
sitting there silently.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like she's saying,
Yeah.
don't force yourself to be somebody you're not.
Yeah.
Find the strategies that work for you and just
Yeah.
let your authentic self shine through.
And your authentic self.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love how she also kind of emphasizes purpose, like
Yeah.
what's driving you?
Absolutely.
What impact are you trying to make? Listener, what's your why?
Yeah, exactly.
Because then the self-promotion becomes
Yeah.
more than just self-promotion.
It becomes about something bigger.
It's like a contribution.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And that transitions beautifully into the idea of becoming a go-to expert,
Oh, yeah.
which is the focus of the article. Make yourself an expert.
Okay.
And this isn't just about, like, acquiring knowledge, right?
Right.
It's about developing what they call deep smarts.
Oh, deep smarts.
Yeah, that kind of expertise that makes you indispensable.
So it's like the experts themselves,
Yeah.
they don't even realize they're doing it.
Right, they just do it.
It's just natural.
And it seems effortless, right?
Yeah.
And it can feel impossible to try and replicate,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is why they introduced this really fascinating process called OPPQY.
Oh.
Yeah. So it stands for observation, practice, partnering, and joint problem solving. And then taking responsibility.
Oh, that's a lot.
It's a mouthful, I know.
Yeah.
But it's basically a systematic way to learn from experts in your field,
Okay.
even if they can't tell you everything that they know.
Because they might not even know.
They might not even know it, right?
Yeah, it's just instinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have this great example of Melissa.
Melissa.
Yeah, she's a sales rep, and she wants to become a distribution expert.
Okay.
So she starts shadowing George, who's like the company's go-to guy in that area.
Okay.
And she observes everything,
Like,
like how he evaluates distributors, the questions he asks, even how he interacts with store managers.
he's like taking notes the whole time.
Yeah, she's really like actively observing, right?
Yeah.
So she takes notes.
Wow.
She analyzes George's decision-making process, and then she tries to apply those same principles herself.
Okay.
And she's always getting feedback from George, you know.
Oh, okay.
And
So he's supervising her.
yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And then eventually she takes on more responsibility.
Okay.
She starts working alongside George to actually solve problems, and then she's even leading certain projects.
So it's like a gradual process.
It is a gradual process.
But it's like, you can't learn that from a book.
You can't just read a book and suddenly become an expert in something like that.
Yeah, you have to do it.
You have to do it.
And it takes time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, listener, think about an area where you would like to develop those deep smarts.
Yeah.
Like, who is the expert in your organization?
Yeah, who's your George?
You're George, yeah.
Yeah.
And could you use this OPQ2Y process to, like,
Yeah.
start learning from them?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, maybe shadow them,
Yeah.
maybe take on certain tasks
Under their guidance.
under their guidance.
Yeah.
Or just have, like, regular conversations about
Yeah.
their work.
And it's a good reminder that becoming an expert is not about, like, this magical transformation, right?
It's about intentional effort,
Okay.
being willing to learn and finding the right mentors to kind of guide you.
Oh, speaking of mentors,
Yeah.
one of the Quick Takes articles talked about sponsorship.
Oh, yeah. That's different from mentorship.
Yeah, it's different, right?
Yeah.
Like a sponsor isn't just somebody who gives you advice. They're
Right.
they're advocating for you.
They're opening doors.
Yeah, they're out there like helping you get noticed.
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's research that shows that women and people of color are often over-mentored and under-sponsored.
What does that mean?
They get plenty of advice, but not enough people are actually championing their careers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So the article suggests a few things for attracting sponsors.
Okay, like what?
So first of all, consistently demonstrate your value by doing excellent work.
Do good work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then raise your hand for those high visibility projects that'll expose you to a wider range of people.
Including potential sponsors.
Got it.
And then finally, just build those genuine relationships both inside and outside your organization.
Okay.
So be helpful, be generous, and be someone that other people want to support.
Be a good person.
Yeah, basically, right? Be a good person.
Yeah.
And another quick take that I really liked was Dory Clark's advice on crafting a compelling elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch. Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're making a career transition.
Okay.
Because so many people get stuck explaining their past in terms of their personal interests.
Okay.
Like, oh, I was bored with finance, so I became a chef.
Yeah, yeah.
But that doesn't really tell the listener, like, why they should care.
Or why you're good at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What value you bring to your new field.
Yeah, yeah.
So Clark suggests focusing on the transferable skills that connect your past to your present.
Okay.
So frame your story in a way that highlights the value that you offer, not just your personal journey.
Don't just tell me what you did.
Yeah.
Tell me why it matters.
Tell me why you should care.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's a great principle to apply to like any aspect
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
of personal branding.
Yeah.
It's not just about listing your accomplishments.
Yeah.
It's about connecting those accomplishments to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And showing how they actually like
Benefit other people.
benefit other people.
Exactly.
Yeah, which reminds me of another interesting quick take.
Yeah, what's that?
The research on dual promotion.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, when you're talking about your accomplishments, it's actually more effective to compliment a colleague at the same time.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know, it's kind of counterintuitive,
It is.
but the research shows that it makes you seem both competent and warm.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Because you're
showcasing your abilities,
but also like
but you're also being generous and recognizing others.
being a good person.
Exactly.
So what if the colleague you're complimenting doesn't like return the favor? I mean, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
It really highlights the importance of choosing your moments strategically.
Okay.
And the colleagues you're lifting up.
Right. Yeah.
It's about building that genuine rapport
Yeah.
and fostering a culture of mutual support.
Mutual support.
Yeah.
So it's a good tip for people who struggle with self-promotion.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about you. It's about, like,
It's about a collective achievement.
the team.
Exactly.
And it subtly kind of shows that you can appreciate the work of others, which is a good leadership quality.
Which is good leadership quality. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another quick take that I thought was interesting was Eliza Licht on building social capital,
Oh,
especially for remote workers.
that's a big one these days.
Yeah.
Especially for remote workers.
Yeah, people think it's all about, like,
Yeah.
in-person events, but she's all about,
She emphasizes the online interactions.
yeah.
She describes social capital as a currency,
Oh, interesting.
building relationships, trust, and reciprocity, regardless of physical location.
I like that.
So she has advice like being generous with your time, communicating strategically, and staying on top of your inbox.
It's not about being, like, glued to your computer
Right.
all day and night, but
When-
it's like,
It's about being intentional with how you connect with other people
right.
and being responsive,
Yeah.
being reliable.
Like, you're a real person who
Yeah.
answers emails.
Exactly.
Yeah, and she says to actually track your efforts.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not just about, like,
Yeah.
collecting business cards or, like,
Right. LinkedIn connections.
Yeah.
But it's about like remembering who you've talked to, what you discussed, and how to nurture those relationships over time.
It's like you're tending a garden.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of cultivation,
Yeah.
one quick take that I liked was H. James Wilson's piece on becoming a thought leader.
Oh, yeah. He's great.
And he emphasizes tuning your ideas to what he calls the zeitgeist.
So it's not just about having brilliant ideas.
Right.
It's about having ideas that are actually relevant to the current moment.
Yeah, that actually matter. Like
Exactly, that resonate with the challenges and opportunities that people are facing right now.
right now.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you need to have your finger on the pulse of what's happening.
Yeah, he also talks about understanding what he calls the P cycle.
P cycle, what is that?
It's the life cycle of a management idea.
Oh, okay.
So it starts with the progenitors, like the early thinkers,
Okay.
and then it moves through pilot projects, programs, and then eventually pervasiveness.
So as a thought leader, you need to be kind of like ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you want to be leading, right? You're not
Yeah.
following.
Yeah,
So you're identifying these ideas early on,
oh, okay.
and you're writing about them before they hit the mainstream.
So be curious, be observant,
Yeah,
be willing to kind of explore outside of your,
outside of your comfort zone.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Which is a good segue to Kelly Burns's article, A Guide to Being a Great Panelist.
Oh, being on a panel is such a fantastic way to showcase your expertise
Yeah, definitely.
and to build your reputation, but it does require some careful preparation.
Yeah, totally.
So Burns really emphasizes understanding your audience
Okay.
and your fellow panelists.
Right.
And she has some good advice on crafting your talking points.
Okay.
It's not just about answering the questions, but it's about providing valuable, surprising, and memorable insights.
So don't just like
Yeah.
regurgitate.
Yeah, don't just give the obvious answer.
Yeah, like give me something.
Yeah, give me something new.
Give me something I haven't heard before,
And she also touches on etiquette.
which seems obvious.
Yeah, it seems obvious, but it's easy to overlook it.
In the moment,
Yeah, in the heat of the moment when you're up there.
when the spotlight is on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So remember, it's not a competition.
Right.
It's a conversation.
Yeah, you're having a conversation.
And you have to be respectful.
Yeah, respectful of your fellow panelists.
Be a good human.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she encourages staying after the panel to network
Oh, good point.
because it's such a great opportunity to connect with people who are actually interested in your work.
Yeah, they're already there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And to build relationships that could lead to future opportunities.
Yeah, that's great.
And this reminds me of Dory Clark's quick take on ensuring that your book gets read,
Okay.
because it's not just about writing a great book.
You got to get people to read it.
You've got to get people to read
Yeah.
it. So you've got to have that launch team ready to spread the word
Okay.
and to help you reach a wider audience.
So it's almost like marketing is part of it?
Yeah, marketing is huge.
Yeah.
And she also talks about driving those early reviews.
Yeah.
Because positive reviews create that social proof
Right, right.
that encourages other people to actually buy the book.
Yeah. Yeah, they're like, oh, well, other people liked it. Maybe I'll like it too.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And she even gives tactical advice like distributing those advanced review copies to colleagues.
Oh, smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And reaching out to podcasts and media outlets for interviews and features.
So it's like you have to be kind of your own.
You have to be proactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like even if you have amazing content,
Yeah.
you can't just like.
You can't just assume people are going to find it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to help them find it.
This makes me think about one of the harder parts of personal branding,
Oh, yeah. What's that?
which is reinvention.
Oh, yeah.
What if you want to like
Yeah.
change direction, but everybody's perception of you is kind of
Yeah. Stuck in the past.
stuck in the past?
Yeah. Herminia Ibarra actually digs into this in her article, Why Career Transition is So Hard.
Okay.
And she talks about those emotional challenges of reinvention.
Yeah, it's like more than just updating your resume
Yeah.
and the LinkedIn, right?
It's deeper than that.
It's you're changing your identity.
You're letting go of an old identity.
Yeah.
And you're embracing a new one.
Which can be scary.
Yeah, it can be really scary and disorienting.
Yeah.
So she talks about embracing liminality.
Liminality, what's that?
It's that in-between state where you're no longer who you were,
Okay.
but you haven't fully become who you want to be yet.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's a time of uncertainty and exploration.
But also like potential.
But also, like, immense potential for growth.
So don't be scared of it.
Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah. I like that.
And she encourages experimenting and trying different things before you settle on a new path.
Oh, okay.
So it's not about having the perfect plan.
Okay.
It's about being open to possibilities
Yeah.
and adjusting course as you learn more about yourself
Yeah. Yeah.
and your options.
So don't let the fear of like making the wrong decision
Yeah, don't get paralyzed.
paralyze you.
Yeah,
Yeah, just go for it.
exactly. Start moving and trust that you'll figure it out.
You'll find your way. You'll find your way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she talks about balancing, exploiting your current skills with exploring new opportunities.
Yeah, so you might need to stay in your current job while simultaneously exploring these new avenues.
Oh, so it's not like you have to just
Yeah.
quit your job and
It's not all or nothing.
yeah.
You can gradually transition
Okay.
while leveraging your existing experience
Yeah.
and network.
And this ties in with Dory Clark and Tomas Shmura Music's quick take
Oh, yeah.
on refreshing your personal brand.
Oh, yeah. Even without a radical career change.
Yeah.
Keeping your brand current is essential.
It's like updating your wardrobe
Oh, I love that.
or your website, you
Right.
know?
Exactly.
Like you wouldn't wear the clothes that
Were
were
fashionable a decade ago.
Yeah.
Or have a website from the 90s.
Or have like a website that looks like it's
Like
for
Savage.
1995.
So they talk about identifying those gaps between
Okay.
how you see yourself
Okay.
and how others perceive you.
Right, because sometimes they don't match.
They don't always match.
Yeah.
So they suggest doing what they call a personal brand audit.
Okay, so like what's the story I'm telling about myself?
It's story you telling.
Yeah.
Is that story aligned with your current goals and aspirations?
Yeah.
And they emphasize being proactive.
Okay.
Don't wait for the opportunities to come to you.
Go get them.
Create them. Exactly.
Speaking of proactivity,
Mm-hmm.
Darcy Eichenberg and Sarah Mann have a quick take on what to do when your colleagues like have the wrong idea about you.
Oh, yeah. It can be so frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
When you've grown and evolved and people are still like stuck with that.
The old you.
The old you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they offer great advice on how to actually close that perception gap.
Okay.
So first, you have to identify those specific ways
Okay.
that people's perceptions are misaligned with your current self.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you might want to seek feedback from trusted colleagues
Okay.
or even do a little bit of like online research.
Oh, see how you're being portrayed?
Yeah. See what's out there.
Okay.
And then once you've identified those discrepancies,
Okay.
you have to align your actions
Okay.
with your desired brand.
So it's not enough to just
You can't just talk about it.
talk about
You
it.
have to actually live it.
Yeah, you have to walk the walk.
You have to walk the walk. Exactly.
And they say be direct
Be direct.
with your stakeholders.
Yeah. Don't shy away from those conversations
Yeah.
about how you've changed and how you want to be perceived,
Right.
even though it might feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's better to address those misperceptions head on
Yeah, don't let it fester.
than to let them fester and potentially sabotage your growth.
Yeah.
And Michael D. Watkins' quick take on reshaping your leadership brand in a new role actually reinforces this idea. He really emphasizes putting yourself in other people's shoes.
Oh, that's good.
Because when you're the new person, everyone's watching you. One thing that really struck me, going through all of this, is this emphasis on building a personal brand that feels authentic.
Yeah.
Because, it's easy to get caught up in trying to project a certain image,
Totally.
but ultimately, people can spot a fake,
Oh, yeah.
like a mile away.
Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Exactly.
Exactly. But how do you balance being like genuine
Yeah,
with being strategic about it?
that's the question, right?
Yeah, like how do I get what I want,
Yeah.
but also be myself?
Well, Avery and Greenwald kind of touch on this in their 7-step process.
Okay.
They really emphasize aligning your brand with like your core values, your passion. So think about it, listener. Like,
Yeah.
what are the things that energize you? What are the things you really care about?
Yeah.
What are the issues that you're like passionate about?
Yeah.
When you're building a brand that reflects those parts of yourself, it's
Yeah.
going to naturally feel more authentic
Right.
and resonate more strongly with other people.
And that authenticity, I think, can really shine through
Oh, yeah.
in those one-on-one conversations that
Yeah.
Muriel Magnan-Wilkins talked about.
Yeah. Those are so important.
When you're really passionate about what you're doing
Yeah.
and you're talking to somebody who is actually
Yeah.
interested, like that connection,
That's spark.
it's magic.
That's where the magic happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not just talking about your work.
No, it's about bringing your full self to the table,
Yeah, like
sharing your perspectives,
Yeah.
engaging in those meaningful conversations.
being a human.
Yeah, because building a personal brand, it's not just about broadcasting a message.
Right.
It's about building relationships and those genuine connections.
And that makes me think about storytelling.
Oh, yeah.
We talk about like crafting your narrative, but it's really about
Finding those stories.
finding the stories that illustrate like your values, your skills, your experiences.
Think about it, listener. Like,
Yeah.
what are the stories that come to mind
Yeah.
when you think about your career journey?
Yeah.
What are the moments that made you feel proud
Yeah.
or challenged or inspired?
Because those stories, I think, they connect with people.
They really do.
on a deeper level.
They make your brand memorable
Right.
because people remember stories.
They do.
Yeah.
Way more than they remember, like,
Facts and figures.
yeah, bullet points on a resume.
Exactly.
Yeah, and those stories can also be really effective when you're trying to, like,
Yeah.
fix that perception gap
Totally.
that we talked about, where, like,
Yeah.
people have the wrong idea about you.
Yeah. If colleagues have that outdated view of you,
You can be like, well, actually, let me tell you about this one time.
yeah, share a story about a recent accomplishment
Yeah.
or a challenging project that you tackled, and
Yeah.
it helps them see you in a new light.
Show, don't tell.
Exactly. Show, don't tell. And this can be particularly helpful, like we were saying, if you're making a career transition.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Because instead of just listing your skills on your resume,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can use stories to demonstrate how those skills have actually translated into success
In different situations.
in different contexts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this actually reminds me of that article on crafting a compelling elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Dory Clark's advice
Yeah.
about focusing on those transferable skills.
Yes.
It's so important.
Instead of being like, I was a lawyer and now I make cupcakes.
Right.
You're like,
Okay.
well, actually, my legal experience really helped me hone my analytical skills.
Yeah. My attention to detail,
Yeah.
which are now serving me well
Yeah.
in my baking business.
You're connecting the dots for people.
Yeah. You're helping them see that continuity.
Yeah, and it's not just for like big dramatic career changes.
No. Even if you're staying in the same field,
Yeah.
it's important to regularly assess your brand
Yeah.
and make sure it's reflecting your current goals.
Your current you.
Yeah, your current you.
And that's where that idea of a personal brand audit comes in.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
It's like cleaning out your closet,
Exactly.
like getting rid of the stuff that doesn't
fit anymore.
fit anymore, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like the stuff that like you just don't wear anymore.
Exactly, or it doesn't reflect your style anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And you have to do the same thing with your personal brand.
Absolutely.
Like what's still working?
Yeah.
What needs to be updated?
Yeah.
What do I need to just like get rid of?
Yeah.
This can be such a good exercise, I think, especially if you're feeling kind of like
Yeah.
stuck
Yeah.
or like,
Uninspired.
yeah, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
It forces you to take a step back and think about what you really want
Yeah.
and how you can best position yourself to actually achieve it.
And it's not a one-time thing.
It's an ongoing process.
You got to keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like anything else, like your finances, your physical health,
Yeah.
your personal brand needs
A checkup.
regular
And
checking.
it doesn't have to be like this formal structured thing. You
Yeah.
could just like,
You could just take a few minutes each week
yeah.
to reflect on
Yeah.
your accomplishments, the feedback you've gotten,
Yeah.
and the areas where you want to grow.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Now, this brings up something interesting.
Yeah.
We've been talking a lot about how other people see you,
Yeah, external perception.
external perception.
Yeah.
But what about like how you see yourself?
Oh, internal perception. That's huge.
Internal perception.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to that idea of authenticity.
Okay.
Because if your personal brand feels like a mask you're wearing,
Yeah.
it's going to be exhausting to maintain.
It's going to be a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and it's going to undermine your efforts.
You're going to burn out.
You're going to burn out. Exactly.
It's like trying to wear shoes that are too small.
Oh, I love that.
You know, you might be able to do it for a little while.
You can squeeze in there?
You can squeeze in, but eventually you're going to have to like
Yeah, your feet are going to hurt.
give up.
Yeah,
So be honest with yourself
absolutely.
about like
for sure.
your strengths, your weaknesses,
Your weaknesses,
what you're good at.
what you actually enjoy doing.
Yeah, and what you're not willing to like budge
What are
on.
your
Yeah,
non-negotiables?
yeah.
And then it's about finding a way to build a brand that reflects those core aspects of yourself.
So it might take some
It might take some experimentation.
Yeah, some trial and error.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
It's worth it to create a brand that feels authentic and aspirational.
I love that word.
Aspirational.
It means that like your personal brand isn't just about who you are now.
Right.
It's about who you're
Who you're becoming.
becoming. Yeah. And that ties into Benjamin Hardy's
Oh, yeah.
idea of the future self, right?
Yeah, it's not just about imagining the person you want to be. It's about actually taking those concrete steps
To get there.
to make that vision a reality.
Yeah. So like learn new skills.
Yeah. Seek out new experiences. Even shift your mindset.
Yeah. And be patient.
Be patient. Yeah.
You know, personal brand building is a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon.
There will be.
There will be setbacks,
Yeah.
challenges along the way.
Yeah.
But the key is to stay focused on those long-term goals.
Yeah. And celebrate your wins.
Celebrate the wins along the way.
You know, I think that's important.
Yeah.
It's easy to just get caught up in the hustle
Yeah.
and forget to like
and forget to appreciate how far you've come.
Yeah, acknowledge. Yeah, speaking of hustle,
Yeah.
I think we should talk about technology.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
Like, these articles were published in early 2025,
Yeah.
and the landscape is constantly evolving.
Changing all the time.
AI is like a bigger and bigger part
It's a huge part now.
of how we work, how we connect, and how we present ourselves to the world.
Absolutely.
Things like ChatGPT, DALL-E, they're getting more
More sophisticated.
sophisticated all the time.
Every day, yeah.
And they can be great tools.
They can be really valuable.
But I think we need to, like,
Use them thoughtfully
thoughtfully, yeah.
and ethically.
Ethically, yeah.
So we need to be mindful of, like, those potential pitfalls,
Like what?
like the spread of misinformation
Okay.
or the creation of deep fakes.
Right, where it's like, yeah, not really you.
And we need to make sure that we're using these tools to enhance our authentic selves,
Yeah,
not to create these, like, artificial personas
right.
that don't reflect who we really are.
It's tempting
It is tempting.
to use them to, like, create this perfect...
Yeah, like this perfect, polished image.
Yeah.
But that's not going to be sustainable.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting, yeah.
Yeah. And I think ultimately
There you go.
people connect with
They connect with authenticity,
the real stuff.
vulnerability, that messy, imperfect humanity.
The stuff that makes us human.
That makes us human. And that's something that technology can't replicate,
No.
right?
Yeah. So even though we're in this, like, increasingly digital world,
Yeah.
I think it's more important than ever to
Yeah.
remember, like, your values.
To stay grounded
Yeah, cultivate genuine connections.
and remember that your personal brand is ultimately a reflection of your heart and mind,
Yeah.
not just your algorithms.
Beautifully said.
And as we kind of continue to explore these insights from these HBR articles,
Mhm.
I think it's important to keep that big picture in mind.
Yeah.
It's not just about, like, mastering the latest techniques or tools.
Yeah.
It's about using them to build a fulfilling and impactful career
Yeah.
that aligns with who you really are.
You know, one thing that's really interesting is how these articles, they emphasize that personal branding isn't just about, like, promoting yourself.
Oh yeah, totally.
That
It's
was
about
really-
it's about making a contribution,
Yeah.
using your skills and your expertise to actually make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, like, do something good.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where thought leadership comes in.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That H. James Wilson talked about, you know, like, tuning your ideas.
To the zeitgeist.
The zeitgeist.
Being aware of those current challenges and opportunities
Right.
and finding ways to contribute your own unique perspective.
Yeah, it's not just about having, like, brilliant ideas in a vacuum.
No, they have to be relevant.
They have to matter to people.
They have to resonate,
Yeah.
inspire people to actually take action.
And that can take a lot of different forms.
Oh, absolutely.
Could be writing articles.
Yeah, blog posts, giving
A
presentations,
channel.
serving on panels.
Even just, like, having good conversations on social media.
Yeah, or even just like in meetings.
In meetings.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's about finding your niche,
Yeah.
identifying the areas where you actually have something valuable to contribute,
Yeah.
and then sharing those insights in a way that's authentic and engaging.
And not being afraid to, like, be a little different.
Yeah, don't be afraid to stand out.
Which makes me think about the advice from Kelly Burns about being a great panelist.
Oh, yeah, she had some good tips.
She's like, know your audience, have good talking points, be respectful of your...
Of your fellow panelists?
Yeah, but also, like, be willing to share your perspective.
Yeah, even if it's a little unconventional.
Yeah, because we need those different voices, right?
Yeah, we need diverse voices and perspectives in these conversations.
And sometimes the most, like, impactful things
Yeah.
come from people who are willing to, like...
Challenge the status quo.
Yeah, and think a little differently.
Think outside the box.
Yeah, and speaking of challenging the status quo,
Yeah.
I think we should talk about career reinvention again for a minute.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
It can be so scary
It can be really daunting.
to, like, change your whole career, especially if you've, like,
Yeah.
invested so much time
Invested time, energy.
in one thing.
Yeah, Herminia Ibarra, she talked about the emotional challenges of reinvention.
Right, like, you're kind of, like, saying goodbye
To an old identity
Yeah, and becoming
and embracing a new one,
a whole new person,
which could be really hard,
but also really
but it could be really rewarding.
rewarding. Yeah, and sometimes it's not about, like, this massive shift,
Right.
but it's about finding ways to, like, refresh your current brand.
Exactly. Dory Clark and Tomas Chamorro Pre-Music, they talked about that.
Yeah.
Identifying those gaps
Mhm.
between how you see yourself and how other people perceive you.
Yeah.
And then taking steps to close those gaps.
Yeah, be proactive
Be proactive.
and always be willing to, like,
To evolve.
Evolve, yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, the world of work is constantly changing.
It's changing all the time.
So what worked 5 years ago might not work today.
Exactly.
And this brings to mind, like, embracing liminality.
Oh, yeah. I love that concept.
It's like that in-between space.
That in-between space where you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure who you are or
Where you're going.
where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be unsettling.
A little scary.
Yeah. But it's also, like, a time of huge potential.
Yeah, it's where the growth happens.
So if you're feeling stuck
Yeah.
or uninspired,
Don't be afraid to embrace that liminal space.
yeah, use it
Use it as an opportunity.
to reflect, to experiment.
Yeah, to discover new paths.
New paths.
Yeah,
and
that might lead you to a more fulfilling life.
more fulfilling, more impactful.
Exactly.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
Oh, absolutely not.
Find those mentors, those sponsors.
Find your people.
Find your people, yeah,
The people who believe in you
who will support you.
and offer guidance along the way.
Yeah, this has been such a
Yeah.
good deep dive.
A rich deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we're wrapping up,
Yeah.
what's like the one piece of advice
Yeah.
you would give to someone who's like starting their personal branding journey?
You know, if I had to boil it down to one thing,
Yeah.
it would be to be courageous.
Oh, I like that.
It takes courage to put yourself out there,
Yeah.
to share your ideas, to ask for what you want. Yeah, and to embrace the uncertainty of growth and change.
Yeah.
But it's in those moments of courage that we really discover our potential
Yes.
and create a life that's both meaningful and fulfilling.
Beautifully said. And to our listener,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for being here.
We hope these insights have given you some new ideas.
Yeah.
And maybe inspired you to take some action
Absolutely.
of your own personal branding journey.
The world needs your talents,
The world needs you.
your unique perspective. So go out there, be courageous, and make your mark.
Yes, make your mark.